Welcome to the Tech Talks, the official student run technology podcast of the Wharton School, where we host forward looking discussions that enlighten and inspire. I'm your host, Mahima Singh, and today I'm joined by Akshata Parab, Executive Director at Morgan Stanley. Akshata has over 20 years of industry experience leading global technology initiatives and driving digital transformation in financial services. She has progressed through multiple leadership roles at the firm, building expertise in IT strategy, application architecture, and cross functional team leadership. Furthermore, a seasoned leader, Akshata has a strong track record of delivering complex, large scale solutions and managing global teams. She's also a recognized voice in the tech community, having spoken at the Grace Hopper celebration in 2022 and 2024. So thanks a ton, Akshata, for sparing your valuable time to be with us here today. It's such a pleasure to have you at the Wharton Tech Talk. And as I begin the questions, our first set of questions is focused to learn more about your career journey and inflection points. So with that, let's kick off. Our first question for you today is, could you walk us through your career journey from your perspective and share the key inflection points that shaped your path?
Sure. A very good afternoon to you, Mahima, and thank you for having me. Um, in terms of my career journey, I think the answer is kind of, sort of in the question that you asked. I look at it as a journey, right? Just like life, it's all the learning along the way, all the experiences, all the growth, and I'm not so much focused on per se the end outcome only or the destination, and that has been critical, and that has fundamentally shaped on how I approach my work and overall my development, personal, professional, right? So starting with like everybody else back home in India, graduating out of an engineering college, fresh out of engineering college, I joined Infosys, which is a well known firm back home in India, as a software engineer. I think I worked with Infosys for a couple of years, roughly around 3 years or so, before I decided I'm going to pack my bags and head to US, which I think was definitely one of the key inflection points that shaped how the rest of it shaped. I didn't know what the future holds and how it will unfold. I didn't have anybody in the US. I didn't know much about it. No immediate family, no extended family. It was kind of like a distant geography. That's all I knew about. And I also transitioned from being like a full-time employee in Infosys to moving into being a consultant, which was also pretty radical shift in how I operated and or how I had to operate when I came here. So that was definitely a big, a key inflection point, I would think, in my journey. And then I was a consultant for a good 3 years. So as we know, or people who are immigrants in this country would know, I came on an H1. There was that runway of 3 years, the first 3 years when I did that consulting experience, and then when it was time for the next extension, so you typically get a 3+3. I again made a decision to pack my bags and go back to India, which was sort of weird because I had put in all the effort to come here, but then it was another important point in my life, in my personal life, where I was planning to get married, and I did want to give it all the time. How the weddings are in India, and being the girl, I had to do a lot of things, and I didn't want that pressure of, oh, I can only get 15 days time off or a 3 weeks time off on an H1B, and then go run, get married, and come back. It was also a difficult time in terms of the market because this was peak recession for people who were around at that time. I'm talking about 2009. It wasn't easy. And that's why even more a decision that somebody would question, saying, if you're established in that consulting space and everything is going fine, why would you do that? But again, I don't think I thought much in terms of what lies ahead and how it would unfold. I wanted to give that time to myself. I didn't want to feel that pressure. Oh, I have to do it in 2 weeks and come back. So I went back to India, took care of my wedding. I think I was there for like a good 6 months. And then I returned back to the US. When I first arrived in the US, I was in Midwest in a place called Minnesota. And then when I came back the second time, I was on the East Coast. That's where my now husband was already, living. So I joined him in the East Coast, and then I again went through sort of a job hunt in that market. I think there was 2 or 3 interviews I landed through network, right? Because it was a very difficult market, and I was able to convert one of it, which was with Morgan Stanley. And then it started then. It was in 2010, and it's not stopped. I've been with Morgan Stanley ever since. I've worked through different transitions and mobilities within the firm. I started as a .NET developer associate at the firm, and graduated through becoming a vice president and now an executive director. So it's been a happening journey in a way, if I have to look at it as my career journey. The one thing definitely that I look at is I don't uh, I'm not so focused on, like I said, just the destination. And even from a career journey perspective, I'm not so focused only on upward mobility in the career, but I have equally been I have equally placed value on the different experiences and the value and the impact I'm able to create through that, right? Whether it is for my team, whether it is for the product or the platform that I'm supporting, or my end users and business stakeholders, right? So for me, that contribution towards maybe successfully shipping, let's say, a feature, or stabilizing a system, or even mentoring a teammate or a colleague, are those true milestones of this journey. Is this how I would look at it? But that's really how the career journey has been from then to now, and it's still going upwards and strong. And yeah, I'm excited for what that future holds for me. And I think I'm, like I said, I'm prioritizing robust learning and meaningful experiences as I keep moving, so that my career remains dynamic, resilient, and focused on making significant contributions possible at every stage, however I can.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That is just so inspiring to hear. So looking back, and if you maybe already shared it, but if you have to pick like a key decision or risk that most accelerated your growth.
In terms of decisions or risk, yes. I mean, in a way, what I said earlier, those 2 key inflection points, definitely coming from India to US the first time, played a very, very big role and a pivotal role in shaping my career journey, my growth as a professional, as well as my as a person. And the reason I say that is because I think somewhere I did have some of those traits in me as an individual. I'm a fiercely positive person, but I think that experience coming to the US, and I had no clue like I said, what lies ahead. I didn't know anybody. I had to figure it all out on my own. And it was a pretty up and down journey those first 3 years when I was in the US, but it reinforced that belief in myself that I carry with me till date. That I have this deep sense of self belief that I will figure it out. I don't know what it is. I don't know, maybe that skill or that technology or this domain, doesn't matter, but I have that deep sense of belief, self belief, that I will figure it out. And I think it did come from that big change or that big step in my journey. But also, while in Morgan Stanley, I can say that, you know, complacency is something that I've kind of realized over time, that whenever I started becoming comfortable anywhere, then I've challenged myself to kind of go for a change. So stepping out of my comfort zone, accepting something unfamiliar, a different role, right, within the firm, definitely pushed and has accelerated the growth. So I started with back office in Morgan Stanley when I started as that .NET developer right at the inception. I was there in that space for good 7 years I supported the platform. I got to learn so much more about just financial firms, Morgan Stanley, and the back office systems. Before then, after which I decided to transition and move to the front office and support trading platforms. I didn't know much about trading when I took that plunge. Like anybody else, I knew about markets just like all of us from the outside. Okay, the markets have gone up today, the markets have gone down today, these are the stocks. And if you have a brokerage account, okay, I need to buy this stock or that stock. That's all I knew about it really from the outside, until I really transitioned into the front office to start supporting the trading platform. I was managing a cross asset order entry platform at one point in time, and it was a very different learning experience. Supporting trading platforms was very fast paced. You had to stay on your toes all the time. It was pretty intense. So it was a pretty radical shift from the back office to the front office, quite honestly. And then I supported that space for almost 8 years before just recently I decided to again take a mobility in the firm. And then I moved from the trading side, which was the investment solutions umbrella, to move into banking. So now for the last 1 year, I've taken on a new role, and I am the head of home loans technology platform under the lending umbrella in the US banks of Morgan Stanley Wealth Management Technology division. So I think essentially, if I have to summarize, like decisions or risks, it is um, stepping out of the comfort zone, going for something that was unfamiliar, but challenging myself to try it out. Why not? And just be open to learning and growing. And I think that's what I think has accelerated my growth overall.
Thank you for sharing and congratulations on the move. Was there a moment when you realized AI would meaningfully change your industry or your own role?
Yes, I think it was the release of ChatGPT. I think that is true for all of us. I don't think it's me only. Somewhere around, I think, late 2022, right, which brought the Gen AI, the generative AI capability into mainstream. Right, there was the traditional AI and ML always existed, even in technology and in our industry. Right, it suddenly but got revived as if it got a rebirth, and people suddenly became, oh, there is AI and ML. And then there was a lot of work at the firm as well, where we were like, guys, this always was there. This is not new. It's the Gen AI that is new, and then what that potential is that it can do, it was a whole another equation, right? But that was, I think, definitely the moment where I think it's not just me and my industry, but I think it was a big change for all of us. The Gen AI becoming mainstream, ChatGPT. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. What capability do you believe has compounded most over the course of your career?
I if I really think, I don't think there is like one capability or a mindset. Rather, it's a mixed bag of couple of them, Mahima, if I have to say. It definitely starts with self awareness. I think I've realized that over a period of time. And if people are hearing, I would really, really emphasize that you should be self aware, because everything starts with that. When somebody talks about these are my strengths and this is not so much my strengths, it's nothing but self awareness, right? And everything that you will hear around in terms of what are the tips or advice for a career growth, you have to take that in the context of you being self-aware, because it's not you can't just take it just like that. What I mean by that is, for instance, you are a extrovert and an outgoing personality. People are, and some are introverts, right? So for you, going out, networking with people, connecting is very easy. And you will hear oftentimes in your career, people will say networking is an important skill, right? So you would think that, oh, let me go ahead and do a lot more of it. But if you've not paid attention to the fact that your communication skills need work, maybe you're not that great a communicator, Maybe you're not able to articulate your thoughts appropriately, or you're not able to read the room. Like we say, you need to know your audience, who it is, and you have to, tailor your message accordingly. So if you don't know that your communication needs work, but you are going out and out doing networking, you could actually cause disservice to yourself, because the general image about you might be, oh, this individual is not that great, we don't understand what they're saying, it's difficult. So now more people know because you're networking with a lot more people, but you haven't worked on your communication, right? So that's why I say self awareness is very important, because everything starts, all other skills, all other capabilities is supplemental to that. I think it starts with self awareness. And then I think I'm going to say I'll couple that with adaptability, because the landscape evolves. It's always evolving. From the time I joined the industry back 20 years ago or so, from what I started with where I am today and what skills I am using, the teams I am managing, and the skills that my teams have, lot has changed, lot has evolved, and you have to continuously sort of upskill and adapt to the changing needs and the requirements, not only from a technology skills perspective, but just the landscape, the domain, the people, because managers change, you could change your jobs, the culture changes. So you have to have a certain adaptability in you. Otherwise, it's going to be difficult to kind of move along your career. And definitely, last but not the least, is a combination of, like I said, I'm a fiercely positive person. So I have a very positive growth mindset with an attitude of gratitude, because you need to be thankful for everything that comes, that you get to do each day. Because I really feel that there are people out there who don't know if they're going to see the sunlight the next day, right? That's the hard reality of the world we live in. So, we are so much more blessed that today you and I are having this podcast in the comfort of our respective homes. It's a blessing. So I think no matter whatever comes to your way, however it unfolds, it's an opportunity, but you need to look at it with an attitude of gratitude, and look at it as an opportunity rather than a challenge. So I think it's a combination of these, like I said, self awareness, adaptability, that positive mindset and attitude of gratitude, I think has what has compounded over the course of my career.
Thank you. That's wonderfully put. Our next set of questions is focused on industry trends and getting your strategic perspective. So, what major shifts are happening in your industry right now that leaders can't afford to ignore?
I think this is one of the easiest answers currently, right? I think you can take a, a guess at it. AI definitely is front and center. All of the evolution in that space, starting with AI, and then generative AI, and now there is agentic AI. So there's definitely a lot of shift there. And I think even if you wanted to ignore, you won't be able to ignore. That's how much it is front and center in everything that we are doing. With it, I think, is also data, because a lot of people, I don't know if they realize, but AI, all of AI is only as good as the data that it leverages behind the scenes. So good quality data, the right data, is also equally important, and there's a lot of focus around that as well. And data driven analytics is also pretty hot. um, the other thing that's rising with all of this, because how technology landscapes are evolving, is security and frauds, cybersecurity. So there is a lot of focus there as well, because as much as we are evolving, as much as our technology is evolving, platforms are evolving, and we all want to adapt and adopt, we need to make sure that we are actually in safe hands and secure hands. And so do, like, for people like us, our clients who are leveraging our platforms want that. So there is a lot of focus on security and making sure that the data of our clients, our platforms, are really, they can trust us. And then there is one more space that is evolving pretty rapidly, I think, in terms of a trend, is digital assets, right? Tokenized assets, because we are moving so rapidly. We want everything quick. So anything that takes longer to as a transaction, the focus is, can I make it fast? The speed is becoming very critical. So if you were making a bank transaction that traditionally took you 4 days, for example, from the day you initiated it, just a simple transfer for the money to move from your account to somebody else's account, especially if that person is not in the same geography, like an international wire transfer, for example, right? People want things to move fast. They want it more streamlined at a click of the button. So there is that whole evolution in that space where we are looking at digital assets and tokenized assets, right? So we can make those transactions, even the trades, transfers, a lot more streamlined and a lot more faster than what they operate today. So I think all in all, I think those are kind of the trends that, at least in the financial industry that I am, definitely is doing the rounds, and people are spending their time in.
Thank you for sharing. Our next question is, how is AI reshaping the competitive dynamics in your space?
Competitive dynamics. So definitely AI is changing everything, right? It is the focus has now shifted, especially for financial firms, the fintech firms, from just speed and data to speed and intelligent personalization, right? We are moving beyond simple automation. Like I said, there was AI and ML and automation that always existed. But now with Gen AI and agentic, we are moving beyond those simple automations to agentic systems that can make decisions autonomously, creating sort of a native ingrained layer in our platforms that helps us differentiate what the capabilities are that we can provide to our end users, and hence differentiating us as a firm from the legacy players out there. If we are looking at it, or the firms that are looking at it as purely just, I think, a cost cutting tool, are not going to last long. I think the firms need to look at it as a growth and a strategic transformation platform, like literally like the word copilot, right? To help augment and not replace the capabilities. I think definitely is setting the pace for competition. So I think, you know, the more and more the firms are looking at that to, like I said, natively integrate AI capabilities into their day to day, including their operations, are going to gain and the competitive edge, because they're going to be able to offer faster, more personalized, and more secure services to their end users. Um, the one thing I'd definitely add here is that while we are all moving fast, because that's the need, and then we see how rapidly the landscape is evolving, all of us need to make sure that we are able to strike the right balance between the capabilities and using AI and automation with the human oversight, right? I think we need to stay ahead of the evolving regulatory frameworks to ensure responsible AI deployment, because that is critical as well. Otherwise, that's going to cause a problem, right? So I think overall, I think the firms that are going to look at AI's role is about augmentation and not automation. And they're using it and combining the AI speed and efficiency, but with the right human expertise and judgment, all kind of uh, integrated together. They're definitely going to outpace who's not, right? It's evolving pretty fast.
Thank you so much for sharing that perspective. So, next question, where do you see the most durable long term impact of AI in the industry?
The most durable long-term impact of AI in the industry.
In your
I
industry.
think, yeah, like overall, I think, piggybacking on the previous question that we discussed, right? Definitely, we're all seeing the benefits and the value that AI is bringing, and how it's expediting in terms of the speed and the efficiency. I think we are all moving ahead from uh, having those traditional rule based systems to more automation, intelligent, adaptive decision making, right? And the more this shift becomes a permanent and natively integrated in the system, the more it's going to be long term and durable, right? So I feel like we always had you know data driven metrics, but now we are moving more and more into the real time adaptive behavior based metrics, so we can provide more personalized experience to our clients, right? For example, I'm now the head of home loans technology, so I'm in the lending umbrella, and one of the key functions in lending is underwriting, right? Underwriting a loan. Traditionally, the underwriters had to manually look at a lot of documents, look across multiple different systems in the firm before they would make a decision whether we are good to underwrite this loan, for example. Now, AI is sort of natively integrated, or we are working towards that, where AI and the agents are natively integrated into the ecosystem, and it can do that heavy lifting for my underwriters, for example. It's able to look across these different systems, it is able to look across these different documents and take that first step at trying to make a decision. Of course, then the underwriter, which is the human in the loop, needs to come in and review and provide that oversight, that is this good and can we move ahead. But definitely, that's the kind of shift that we are seeing in a full scale agentic automation of workflows and integrated human in the loop oversight. I think that's how that shift is happening, and I think that's what's I think is going to be the more long term durable impact of AI, where that workflows are shifting into more automated decision making, but taking into account a lot of different factors at the same time. The full, harnessing the full capability of agentic AI, essentially.
Thank you so much for sharing that. With that, our next set of questions is focused on how do you personally leverage AI and how have you professionally adapted to it? So,
Mm,
in
Personally, I think in my day to day, in the professional life, I think our firm, Morgan Stanley, has done a lot of good work. I don't know if you're aware, but we partnered with OpenAI pretty early on because we didn't want to be left behind in terms of the technology and innovation, and giving the right tools and the power to our technology organization on how much we can leverage it, or how we can leverage it. So we have a lot of tools that are being provided by the firm. We have built other capabilities. We call it as AI at MS debrief. So it's essentially, after COVID, we all sort of got pretty used to being able to run efficiently through Zoom, right? We are globally established firm. I have teams operating out of US, in New York, New Jersey, Alpharetta, as well as people in India. So we are so much on Zoom calls. We have something called as MS debrief and Zoom companions that are kind of made available in the firm. So now we don't need to really do minutes of the meetings. The AI is able to listen to all the calls, and once the call is done, it is able to summarize and send you that summary. Right. So you as the meeting host has access to all your meetings and all your meeting summaries available in the firm, and you can just do a quick review. That's the human in the human oversight that we talk about, because sometimes it can go get a few things wrong here and there, right? The names can be wrong, so you need to make sure that you quickly edit it, but the rest of it is all captured for you easily. You don't have to, you don't need to track your own minutes, or you don't need to have somebody else on the call who's tracking the minutes and the agenda, because the AI is able to do that. And then we have a lot of other tools provided at the firm. We have this whole MS365 ecosystem by Microsoft. So if you use Word and PowerPoint and Excel, then there is a Copilot embedded in all of these tools. So if you're trying to draft something in a Word, it can help you do that quickly or summarize it quickly. If you're trying to come up with a slide deck for a presentation, it can help you. You just have to like prompt and give it some thoughts to say, I'm looking to create a PowerPoint for lending. It's an executive presentation about, let's say, the example I gave you, the benefits of agentic AI in underwriting. It can create a couple of slides just like that, which are pretty good, I can tell you, because I have used it. That's how I'm using it. and you get something to start with. The boilerplate, the starting skeleton is out there, and then you can tweak it how you want. Even that can tweak if you keep prompting it and tell you, oh, can you change this? Can you make this more specific? Can you focus more on the ROI rather than the efficiency? It is able to tweak all of that and create like that deck for you. So I think, just on a day to day, all of these tools which are made available at the firm, very much leveraging all of that on a day to day in my all my work.
Thank you for sharing. Next question. Has AI changed how you make decisions, manage teams, or process information? And maybe you all three answered, but more perspective. Anything you'd like to add?
Um, I mean, it depends on how you look at the question. I mean, literally, if you ask me, not really, because and it may be dependent on also the individual and what role are you playing. For what I am doing, really, I'm like a head of the technology platform. I'm partnering with my business stakeholders, my team. There's a lot people dynamics involved in my role. So I wouldn't think that, it has changed in that sense, my decision making literally, but definitely there's a lot more data driven analytics where AI tools are being very useful and helpful. We have different ways that our teams are leveraging it. There is a lot of focus on not only transforming the business platforms, but how we do our engineering, like the SDLC on a day to day, like my team, the developers on my team. There's a lot of push for AI first mindset, and we are calling it AI DLC, which is almost replacing like the SDLC, to say it should be AI first. How are we leveraging these tools for writing the code, for speeding up our development cycles? And then the focus has shifted on the people doing more of the code reviews to make sure that it is the right code. Like I said, the human in the loop and the oversight is always needed, but it's able to write the code. So the teams and how we leverage the tools, how the day to day looks like, definitely is evolving. And it is able to go across multiple systems. Like I said, even with the example of underwriting, it's able to look at my platform, it's able to look at the data, it's able to look at the documents, and it's able to marry all of it and summarize. That's one of the use cases that it supports, right? Summarization, looking across different systems. So for us, even to look at the productivity of the team, we have tools that can go across Jira, it can go into GitHub, it could go into other documentation at the firm, like we have Jives, and it can give you sort of immediate summaries based on which you can create some actionable insights really quickly. And even, it boosts the productivity in that sense, right? So yes, it's changed, not, like I said, literally in how I make my decisions, because my role is very people centric, and there's a lot of people dynamics in it. And I'm not really relying on AI to make those kinds of decisions for me. But definitely in terms of, like I said, how we operate some of these routine tasks, like I said, if there's a Word, PowerPoint, Excel, trying to get information, trying to get data driven analytics and get some summarized input from multiple systems, I think that's the key. We always had data driven analytics, but it would probably run from one data set. This can go across different systems and sort of merge all that information together and summarize it for you, right? So that way it's definitely, helping, and it has changed how we are looking at decision making or managing our teams or processing the information.
Thank you for sharing that. What advice would you give professionals who want to meaningfully integrate AI into their own workflows?
I think for professionals who want to meaningfully integrate AI into their workflows, the first thing I will say is, and that's true even with us and our teams, is you need to define the clear objective of what you want from that AI integration that you're trying to do. And what is the use case, or what is the pain point or efficiency? What are you trying to achieve? Do you have that defined outcome? You need to have a clear, defined objective or an outcome for why you're using that AI, where you are, and why you're integrating it, wherever it is in that workflow, right? The second thing is, like I mentioned earlier in one of the questions, AI is as good as the data that it has behind the scenes, right? It's the powering engine for AI as well. It's using that data, it's using the documents, it's using your system, but it's as good as the data it has. So if you have bad data, a lot of people don't have the right documentation in place. We've traditionally suffered from that. So there's a lot of investment happening in that side. So people who are looking to integrate AI need to make sure you have the right quality data to kind of get that full benefit from AI. The third thing I would say is you have to also prioritize security. Like I said, eventually, depending on where you're using the AI, it's your information or it's your client's information. For example, in my case, in financial, Morgan Stanley, like a firm like a Morgan Stanley, which is a financial firm, we deal with clients' data, clients' finances. There is client PII, which we call as personally identifiable information. Your account information, your SSN. There's sensitive information, and we need to be careful on how we handle that data. So you need to make sure that you're prioritizing security as well. The other thing I'll say they need to remember is, AI is just like any other technology. It's how you use it, and then how much you learn with it, and then how much you adapt to it. That's how you will be able to get the best out of it in terms of its accuracy as well. Because when you, and I don't know if you've tried it, you will get a good 50%, 70% accuracy out of the box. But now if you want to tweak it and take that 50, 70% to like 80, 90, 99, which we need in our workflows, depending on where you're using it, you need to monitor, you need to measure, and you need to know how to get to that accuracy, which kind of is tied into how much are you investing in your own training and upskilling, which is equally important because that landscape is evolving so much. There are new models, new tools coming out every single day, and it's changing rapidly. So you have to invest in the training so you're sort of aware of what's coming and how it can be leveraged, and including there is this piece for prompt management, right? Because you prompt the AI, this is what I want, do this, don't do this. What's that right way to prompt? It's not, even though it's regular English that we use, the way we talk, but there is a skill, it's an art on doing the right prompting. So you need to make sure that you're invested in that and you understand what's the right way to do the prompting, right? And no matter where you integrate, no matter how you use it, like I've said it a couple of times now through this discussion, human in the loop oversight is very critical. So you need to be mindful of what are the guardrails that you will have in place. How are you going to monitor what it is doing? Is it giving you the right outcome? And who is reviewing that outcome when in that workflow and where in that workflow, wherever they plan to integrate it, right? So I think those are a few things that they need to kind of remember to meaningfully, I think, integrate AI into their workflow wherever they want to.
Thank you so much for that advice. And with that, I'll seek more advices, this time for early professionals. Um, so, our next question is, if you were early in your career today, how would you position yourself?
I think based on the 20 plus years of my career journey, if I had to position myself today, I mean, earlier in my career, having all this experience now, I think I definitely would focus on building, number one, a strong personal brand. And that is actually happening for you. So if you're not aware, that's automatically happening. So you better be aware so you can be mindful of what is that brand that you're creating, because it's happening, right? Every interaction that you're having with anybody is sort of leaving behind an impression of whatever they got out of that discussion, that interaction, that relation, right? So you need to sort of make sure that you are showcasing the right skills, the accomplishments, how you want people to see you. And it could be exactly who you are based on your values and your strengths, but be very, very mindful of positioning yourself and your brand the right way. That's number one. um, The other thing I would focus on is developing what we call as T skills. I don't know if you've heard, like the letter T. What that essentially means is there is something that you are specializing in. So you go more deeper into it, like the vertical. So let's say I'm in technology, you are in let's say in STEM. So technology is my core skill, understanding technology design and application design and what's the right way to build an application. So technology is my skill. But then what you call it as horizontal skills, you don't need to go very deep in them, but you do need to know varied skills. A lot of them are soft skills, whether it is networking, whether it is communication, whether it's a particular domain. Like I've always been in financial industry, but I've gone through different aspects of the financial industry as well. Even in Morgan Stanley, when I've done the mobility from the back office to the front office to the lending and the banking, now it's kind of like trying to build across different business domains that the wealth management supports. But I still, at core, I'm a technologist, right? So it's kind of like building that T skills. So you're clear on what are you specializing in, and then you have the broad array of the horizontal skills that will supplement and go hand in hand in how you kind of project yourself, which will then also add into what you're projecting as your personal brand, right? And I think the other thing I'll position myself, if I had to position myself, is definitely maintaining a positive professional sort of that work ethic, because that's equally important, right? People perceive you and how you conduct yourself and that overall feel they get from you. So it's again sort of tied back to your personal brand, so you're kind of projecting strong disciplined work ethic. You're respecting time, you know where to draw the right boundaries. So overall, I think if I had to position myself, what I would focus on, creating that brand, which kind of is a mixed bag of these things that I talked about, and then focusing on like that T skill, what is my specialty, and then what is that horizontal that I would like to focus on. That would be my supplemental to go hand in hand.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing that. With that, our last question before the rapid fire round is, what skills or experiences should students and young professionals prioritize right now? And maybe you all already touched on it, but to wrap it up.
I think yes. I think one that I think is doing rounds, which is loud and clear to all of us, which was even in this discussion today, is AI. So I would definitely say that you need to prioritize AI and digital literacy, understanding how this landscape is evolving, the tools, and what's the best way to leverage it in your day to day, wherever you are, in whatever profession, in whatever capacity, right? Definitely building that AI and digital literacy. The soft skills, so your communication, your team collaboration, your ability to negotiate, conflict resolution. There's a lot of skills that play and go hand in hand, and that's why I was talking about those T skills. Definitely your ability to problem solve, or ability to think critically, so you're able to analyze the situation and propose different solutions which are informed, data driven, risk informed. So it shows and it projects your brand as well. But that ability to be able to think critically and problem solve. I think the other one I talked about, I think in one of our previous questions up, was the adaptability and the learning, right? Because you will change, things change, technologies change, platforms change, people change, culture changes. Adaptability and learning, continuous learning, is very critical, and you need to have that in you. Otherwise it's going to be very difficult, for you to move or adjust in a new place with a new manager or a new team or a new domain, or now AI just came from nowhere and now adjust and adapt to that new technology. So adaptability and learning for sure. So I think, yeah, if I had to advise the students and young professionals to prioritize, I think those would be the few things, AI and digital literacy, soft skills, like kind of keeping in mind the T skill, like what's your specialty, and then those horizontal skills, which is a mixed bag of soft skills, critical thinking, problem solving, and then adaptability and continuous learning.
Thank you so much for sharing that. With that, we're now at the rapid fire round. I'll ask questions. And first question, what is the one AI tool you use regularly?
I think it's the MS365, like I was saying, because that's the ecosystem within the firm. And I know I'm using, like, it's embedded in our Outlook, it's embedded in our Teams, it's embedded in our Word, PowerPoint, Excel, which we use, and then we also have the GitHub in the coding. But it's really that MS365 Copilot ecosystem across all these different apps that we use on a day to day, that I use on a day to day at firm, at work.
Sounds good. What's the one tech trend you're paying close attention to?
I think right now, again, it's a no-brainer answer. It's the AI, but the rapid rise of how that's evolving, like I was saying, from Gen AI to the agentic AI. And in that agentic AI, there is a lot of focus, because we're talking about autonomous agents, and then we're talking about even the levels of the autonomous agents. So in the firm, we call it as level 1, level 2, level 3. To what extent can these agents operate on your behalf, or on that software's behalf, or the platform's behalf, to take decisions? So definitely that space is evolving, and I'm definitely paying a lot of attention to how that agentic AI and this autonomous agents are evolving right now.
Sounds good. Build, buy, or partner? What's your instinct in AI right now?
I think really we're already in it, and the answer is really it depends, because everybody, this is one skill, one tech where everybody's evolving at the same time, right? So people are developing tools out there, but the firms are developing as well. It's kind of like a race, so it depends on your use case, it depends on your need. Whether you have a need for speed, then probably if something is out there already, you can buy it. But if it's also being built, then you could build it too. Then why not build? And the big differentiator there is going to be security, because when I buy, we have a little bit of a sensitivity around our data going into that tool, which is another vendor tool. If I did a buy, versus if I do a build, then I have a lot more control on how I'm differentiating it, plus what security I'm baking in. So really the answer is it depends on what the need is your need speed, or is your need to differentiate yourself in what you're building, the capability, as well as how you're handling your security? Then I would really do a build.
Sounds good. What is your boldest tech prediction for the next 5 to 10 years, even if it seems like a total moonshot to everyone else?
I think in the next 5 to 10 years, definitely, I still feel like it's going to be AI, to do with AI, but more around, I feel it'll be so natively integrated in our day to day that we wouldn't even think about it anymore. It's just part of our daily lives. So for example, if you have a iPhone, there is Siri on it. You can press it and just say, "Hey Siri, put a alarm for 5 a.m." It does that for you today, right? I wouldn't be surprised where now it is AI powered and agentic AI powered behind the scenes, where it is able to recognize my pattern of how I do my shopping, for instance, or how I do my groceries. And I just press the button and say, "Hey Siri, can you create my grocery cart for me?" It can go back. Like I said, AI can look across systems. So if the data is on my laptop or on my phone, it can go across these systems, figure out what groceries I did last week or the week before, and sort of see my pattern. Maybe I have my preferences somewhere. It's able to marry that and create a grocery list for me, and even put it in the cart. And if I approve, it can even place the order for me through just that one button click, saying, "Hey Siri, go get my groceries done," right? Or similarly, go get a doctor's appointment. So it's able to look through my calendar, it's able to make connection. There are online applications where you can look at your like ZocDoc, where you can see your doctor's availability, for example, right, to book an appointment. It can marry that with your calendar, and pop a message to you saying, "Looks like the next Wednesday, the 30th of March, 2 p.m. seems feasible for the doctor and you. Would you like me to go ahead and put an appointment?" And you say yes, and it's able to block that appointment for you. So I think from a boldest tech prediction, I think it's going to be that sort of how our lives are going to change so much, and how we operate, the meaning of how we operate on a day to day. I think as individuals, whether in work life or in personal life, I think it's how much natively the AI and the agentic AI is going to be all integrated, coupled with, I think, like a voice activation, sense activation, like through my glasses, through my eyes, wearables, maybe just, activated through that, and then executing these multi step workflows for us, right behind the scenes. But just it's just seamless for us. I'm just clicking the button and just saying that through one line, and it's doing all of that behind the scenes. That's how I think how it's going to evolve in terms of the prediction for the next 5 to 10 years. How our lives will change, I think.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. That wraps up our interview for today. Akshata, it's been such a pleasure and an honor to have you join us at the Wharton Tech Talks. Big thank you for all the insights you shared. It was an excellent learning experience, and just thank you for making time despite your super busy schedule. With that, we are at the close of today's Tech Talk. For the listeners, if you enjoyed the episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. You can also follow us on the official Wharton Tech Club LinkedIn and at the rate Wharton Tech on Instagram to stay updated on upcoming guests and new episodes. Until next time, thank you so much. And once again, thanks to Tanakshita. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure, Mahima. Thank you for having me and inviting me. And all the very best to you and everybody at Wharton.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.